So, Emily, how would you like to play Three Question Thursday?
I obviously don't know how to play Three Question Thursday.
Okay, well, we'll learn as we go. Okay. Okay. Here's Three Question Thursday. I'll ask you three questions. If you
Okay.
The first question, you talked about your writing a little bit, but we didn't
Yeah,
get deep into it because you do substantial amount of writing in a blog. Can you
I
first say
do.
the name of the blog and how we can
Yes.
find you? But how did that start and how do you keep up with it?
Okay, so my blog is called Week and Loved, weekandloved.blogspot.com. I've always kind of been a like journaler kind of person, but I started keeping a blog really faithfully when my husband got called to his first church. We had four kids. We were there for about a month, and my 4-year-old daughter started having seizures kind of out of nowhere. And we went through this year of medical crisis and seizures. It was a brain tumor. She ended up having surgery and she's doing wonderful. But moving away 6 hours away from family, and then that on top of it, writing was a great way to keep people updated, not have to repeat it all verbally every minute, especially Sunday morning with people I just knew. But also I realized it was such a way to process my own emotions and just get things out, get things on paper and sorted and things like that. So that ended up actually turning into a book that I wrote.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, and I'll explain the name of the blog too, because I had an aunt that was supportive during that season with my daughter. When it was so hard to see her sick. It was hard to have four kids at that time. I was pregnant with a fifth. And she was such a sweet Christian encouragement to me. And one of the things she said was, a lot of people say be strong. I say be weak and be loved.
Oh.
And her words just gave me permission to like acknowledge the weakness and the hard things, the hard part of it for me, and then camp out in the like loved part, loved by God, loved by my family, that sort of thing, rather than trying to put on this mask of strength. And so that was just a really life-changing concept for me. And it's one that's I've had to relearn again with this whole addiction recovery thing.
So the blog is Weak and Loved
Mm-hmm.
dot
um, that,
blogspot.
yep.
Okay. And it's in the slideshow. So
Yes.
if you're watching on YouTube right now, it's in the slideshow. Okay, so that's question number one. It's how it
Mhm.
got started.
Okay.
And what is the book by the same name then?
Yeah, the book is by the same name.
Okay, and when did you publish that?
I think 2010,
Okay,
maybe. Yeah.
fantastic. Okay, second question.
Okay.
You mentioned that you are back to exercising, but for you, it's not really exercise. It sounds very joy-filled.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, but how did you get started? At some point, did you say, "Oh, I've lost 50 pounds and now I shall get my running shoes on," or what happened?
I mean, gosh, I don't know that I really remember. I think it was a gradual thing, just as I started feeling better, I was able to be more active. A lot of the support I've received is through like phone calls and things like that. So I would leave the house and walk on the phone calls, just for privacy's sake, having six kids.
Mhm.
So I think it started out gradually, and then just the more that I've begun to feel better in my body, the more that I've been willing to just enjoy that and push myself a little bit into new territories. Like one of the things I like to do with my older daughter is refit classes. It's kind of like a Christian version of Zumba. It's like cardio dance,
Mhm.
it's not for everybody, but it's kind of wild and crazy, and it's a lot of fun for us, and that just feels really celebratory.
And it's called Refit.
Refit. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so
Yep,
it's
it's at
just
a local like big church around here that we go to.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the third and final question. This is for all the money, all the marbles.
Oh boy.
Well, the thing is, I go back to when you told me the other day when we chatted, there was a moment when you were watching Susan's vlogs and crying.
And eating ice cream.
Yeah. What would you say to that Emily right now? Well, if you were to go back in time, what would you say to her in that moment of you are so almost desperate that you're crying as you're watching this, the realization that you might have a compulsive problem here.
Maybe, just maybe. No, I don't. You know, the first thing that came to mind was like, oh, honey, it is hard. Like, it really just is hard to be in a body like this, in a world like this.
Yeah.
To be well in this food culture is hard, and it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of grief work to get better.
There's that word again, grief, and you mentioned it before.
Yeah.
And you're talking
Yeah.
about crying. I mean, this is a serious grief.
It's a big deal. Yeah. And even that picture of myself doing that, there was a part of me that wanted the hope that Susan offered, and that wanted to get better, and that saw this as maybe this is finally a way out of this. And then another part of me that was like, but I'm not going to be okay without my ice cream. Like, I'm not going to be okay.
Right. Oh, I definitely felt that.
Yeah.
Just even in my first conversation with Lori, the thought of seriously, like we're talking all the celebrations, all the things, but
Right.
haven't you
Like,
found that life still is it, you can still celebrate?
right. Yes. Like, after the grief that you have to walk through, like, there's no jumping over that. Um, After those things have been buried, though, that hourglass opens up, and there's so much more on the other side than I ever would have imagined. The ice cream wasn't worth it, but I couldn't know that then. I couldn't see through the tunnel to the other side. But now when I look at, like I said, the cookie doesn't tempt me any more than eating the napkin does. It's because I see the price tag on the cookie. That would mean falling back through the hourglass to that old place where I used to live. And honestly, no part of me wants to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a miracle. That's incredible. And that's not a work that I have done. But it's a gift, and it's a grace. And I'm really grateful for it.
Well, Emily, I'm grateful for our new friendship, and thank you so much for sharing your story, giving us a lot. Oh, I got to ask you one more question. This is
okay.
This is 4-question Thursday. Because the other day, and I don't know how you go about it, but you said something about stick contracts.
Oh yeah, we forgot to talk about that.
Yeah. So what do you do? What is a stick contract, and what do you do?
Okay, so stick, STICKK, I think. Let me double check. STICKK. It's so it's a website that just allows you to basically make commitments. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and I won't go into all that. But what I do, especially during my danger zones, when I want to make sure that I stay in the 4 bright lines. So one of them, for example, is coming home from vacation. Vacation, I'm all on guard. I've got my meals planned, whatever. But coming home when there's no groceries, I'm tired, the kids are grumpy, all of that. That's a danger zone for me. So I might make a stick contract for a week or a month, where 4 bright lines every day, no bites off plan. Now, you can have other people hold you accountable, or you can hold yourself accountable and check in every day. But the kicker is, you can say, all right, if I don't hold my commitment, I'm gonna pay $10 either to stick, or to a charity, or a friend, or even an anti-charity if you're really brave, a charity that you would never give to. I usually just give it to a friend or to stick if I do say no, I didn't make my commitment. But what that does for me is it gives me an integrity check-in every day. Did you follow the bright lines really yesterday before you click that button? Like, was there a bite? Was there anything? And it gives me honesty practice. And then in the moment of like, I might just grab a thing and call it good, that moment. For me, it's a gentle, like, okay, you can do that, but it's going to cost you $10. Do you want that $10 bad? And maybe you do, and maybe you just do it. But typically just that little bit of like, oh, I don't want it $10 bad. Like, I don't need 2 hash browns for $10. That's silly. I'm going to move on,
Yeah.
And it allows me to willpower forward just a little bit over that impulsive moment of, mindless eating.
Well, so interesting. Yeah, I've never done that, but I think that it could work. There's the incentive.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, some people feel like it feels a little punitive, and I get that it's not for everybody. But that's also why it's not like $500 either.
Right.
Yeah. It's $10. It's not the
Exactly.
end.
Well, another great idea. Again, thank you, Emily, for your story. Good ideas. And thank you for playing 3-Question Thursday.
Sure. Sorry I left early.
Okay. Thanks, Emily. Good night, everybody. Stay.
Good night.